Hello. Welcome everyone to another episode, another casual conversation where me, your friend Carlz, try to make sense of things thought in Spanish, but refurbished. I like that word, refurbished in English. Well, you know how ideas come from like just a spark of curiosity or something. To me, as it did happen in last episode, or as I did mention a lot last episode, it mostly comes from questions, just random questions that pop into your head. The one question that popped into my head that inspired this episode was a random question of what makes us recover things from the past and either call them classics or like find new value in them. How does that happen? Well, basically, I think there are like it's not only hindsight, not only perspective, but there are some revelations that happen with things in the present that shine a light on things on the past. For this case specifically, for some reason, well, there is a reason. The upcoming new animated Super Mario movie, Super Mario Galaxy, or is it just Mario Galaxy, whatever, made me think about the previous Mario, which I thought it was a mediocre movie, and that made me think about the previous Mario, the first movie that I saw. I don't think I saw it on the theaters back then. Perhaps I did, but of course I'm talking about the Super Mario Bros. From 1993, starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as the titular Mario and Luigi. The thing about this movie is that it has been historically hated, panned, and like nobody liked it, nobody no like only hate through so many years, and I don't think it has been already being recovered as a quote unquote classic by modern standards. And I thought, how can you do it? How would you do? How would you understand it? First of all, when I watched it as a kid, I loved it. This is an important clue for you to think about it. You know, these are movies made for kids. That's a big thing to start on. But when I saw it as a kid, I remember loving it. Me and my brother, we would like play Mario and Luigi, and we would sing the song they made for the movie. From now on, I'm talking old Mario and new Mario. Old Mario refers to 1993, and new Mario refers to the first one of the new ones, which is like last year, 25, 24. But it's just new Mario. We would play Mario Luigi. We would love the gimmick of the jumping boots. Of course, we had some of the toys. I think we had Mario, Luigi, and one Goomba. We love the weapons. We love the aesthetics, very RoboCop-ish. Wink, wink. And we would do Mario and Luigi's greet. You know, in the movie they go glue 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 glue. They do a handshake, their special handshake. We would love the theme song. That wasn't nothing like the game. You know, it was a fun, charismatic movie. And then again, the question remained: why was it so panned? So, for a long time, you always hear about the movie lacking substance. I remember then being older and going back to the movie and thinking like, why did people hate it so much? If I liked it so much when I was a kid, and that's the main source of criticism. It lacks substance, and they criticize it because they try like to be so much. So you go into this kind of like paradox of people asking too much of a kids movie while at the same time sort of not understanding that there is value in that complexity from my perspective. So then you wonder, how does that differ from modern times? Can we use modern times to kind of like springboard the old into more like a classic status? I think you can, and you can by thinking it like, okay, these are two movies based on the same video game. They run in different times, but the target audience is the same. What did they do with that audience? Could that be just a reflection of the current times? Can it be just a reflection of it? Like, in a way, kids are dumber now, so we won't give them this sort of substance? Because the new Mario movie, even though it didn't like explode, I think it exploded in the box office, but in as far as content, as plot, and like movie content, I think I thought it was such a mediocre movie because it's so filled with modern animated movie tropes. And I keep thinking, what would happen if we applied like these standards to the old movie? Then you start comparing them, and for the life of me, I keep going back into this idea that they are the same movie. They are the same movie, just in different times. Like, if you pick both movies from the beginning, they share so many tropes, traits, and interpretations of the Mario Brothers. Let's just remember, by the way, that the Mario games, story-wise and plot-wise, they're just super basic, right? Like, guy rescues princess. That's it. Back in 1993, of course, there was even less substance to it. But by the nature of the franchise, Mario is a simple story. And that's how it is, right? You don't ask much from it. You don't play fucking Mario to have a revelation, even though I did have one when I played Mario Galaxy, but that's a completely different subject. So if you pick two adaptations, they begin so similar. Like the beginning and the first third of the movies are so similar. The way they characterize Mario and Luigi, the way they make, for example, their relationship the core strength of them. That's why there's the Super Mario Brothers. In the new one, Luigi goes like, "Oh, I always depended from Mario. He's always protected me," and they show some flashbacks. I think later in the movie, where Luigi is bullied, Mario save him. The old one has the same. Luigi goes like, "I didn't know my parents. Mario was like my dad. I was dependent on him." Both movies show the love between brothers. Both movies show that what joins them together is this enterprise, the Mario Brothers Plumbing. Like, you can almost argue that the new Mario people definitely watch the old one. They have the broken down wagon, the struggling business, but all they have is each other. They're simple, working class plumbers. So then they come to the moment where they face the supernatural. And this is where the movies really stray apart, even though they keep these similarities. Like in the old one, the fantastic turn, the Super Mario Bros. Fantastic turn, is when they meet Daisy. They meet Daisy, and she's an archaeologist. She's a scientist, and she's discovering a piece of the meteorite that joins the world. Okay. The Super Mario Bros. 1993 movie basically shows the process by which creators thought you should adapt a video game. This process basically means this shit has no story and no substance whatsoever. It sucks. Let's create one for it. And this is a good thing. This is a thing that you should recognize from the old Mario movie. This is one of the places where I was saying, like, you can pinpoint value to recover this movie for current times. They see this. They think. I mean, they know they have to adapt it, and they go through the work of creating a plot. Of course, this plot is a reflection of the times, how the characters look, how the characters talk, but think about what they wanted to do with this. The old Mario movie. Think about it. They make Koopa a fascist dictator. They make his plot, which is a little bit convoluted, but let's just say there's two Earths, and in the Fantastic Earth, dinosaurs didn't go extinct, so they evolved into some sort of more intelligent beings. And Koopa wants to merge the world so he can dominate both. You can see the iconography and the attitude in Koopa, and how Dennis Hopper play him like a crazy ass dictator. He is Trump, he is Netanyahu, he is Milei, he is Hitler, he is all of them. He's a caricature, and they do that intentionally. And I'm not gonna say that the Mario movie is this political statement against fascism, but it clearly has an intention. Let's create a plot for Mario where Mario, the proletariat representative, faces against this fascist iconography. So even though it's not a strong punch, it certainly is a jab. You can see the weakness in the authority by the cops being dumb and being ridiculous. You can see a jab against the military, because basically Goombas are the evolved people. Like there's no subtlety in that metaphor. Koopa's army are people dumbed down, and he even said so. Like, you dumb them down and they are docile and they follow any order. Dude, that is no that is not even a metaphor. That's straight up making fun of military and an organized authority. Even more so. Iggy and Freddy, I don't know, but the cousins, which for those of you who are not seeing this thumbnail, they are like kind of like the joke characters. They are Koopa's cousins and henchmen. And in one point of the movie, they get evolved, because Koopa has this ray that can de-evolve people, or it can evolve them. It's so funny, and this shit is so like over the top. They get a little bit more intelligent, and as soon as they get intelligent, they rebel against Koopa, and they explicitly call him a fascist in a kids movie. In a kids movie, like, there's this metaphor of people, if you get smart, you recognize fascism and rise against it, and if you become dumb and docile, you work for it. You know, it's no small matter. And in between, the voice of common sense, is the proletariat, Mario and Luigi. You know, they're just struggling people, simple people, and they are doing what they think is right. Simple working people value. They kidnapped this girl, we ought to rescue her. And they go through this adventure that is filled with amazing visuals, practical effects, as I said, messages, politic messages. Like, even as I was reading, not necessarily now, but one of the things that I encountered way before, when you were kind of like thinking about the movie, or like thinking about the story about the movie, this old Mario movie struggled a lot finding its seriousness, finding these topics, and the writers genuinely wanted to make something out of it. There are even some comments about them being really explicit about the quote-unquote feminist icon or feminist approach to female characters, which is there. Like, these characters are strong, ambitious. There are basically three main female characters. There's Koopa's right-hand person, which I think that lady was in in that detective series with Sandra Oh, right, and Jodie Comer. I think she's in it. She's a great actress. Daisy and the Big Bertha. And even though Daisy is captured, right, the way they choose to portray her is not as weakness. It's a strong. She is captured, right, because of the circumstances, and of course she works with Mario and Luigi to rescue themselves. But the women in this movie are kind of real. Koopa's right hand lady. She's ambitious. She's a go getter. She gets stuff. She, of course, she's cruel. She's a bad. She's a villain. But she's a strong and commanding villain. And it kept surprising me how they choose to portray these characters, because this is something also you can compare with the present and make some sort of argument about rescuing old Mario movie and give the props that it deserves. Because in the new one, there's just one female character. Because the Mario's family doesn't count there barely in the movie, and it's Peach, right? And how do they choose to portray Peach's strength in the new Mario movie? And now, I'm using this term with as much nuance as it can, because it's not a term that I care for, because it can be used as a bad thing. But if you want an example of what people call the Mary Sue, Peach in the Mario movie might be it. And you go, why is that? Because as soon as she's on screen, she is invincible. There is absolutely no vulnerability from the main characters in the new Mario movie. Not until way the end, where like, okay, well, this is the climax of the movie, and you think the good guys are gonna lose, but of course they're not. The way they choose to present Peach is like the first thing she does is dominate everything she does. They do this obstacle course where like she goes like, "Oh, you wanna come with me, Mario? So you better finish this course in 20 seconds." And Mario, with his cheaty, like, I need to take the chance to talk trash about Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt sucks in the new Mario movie. He's the worst actor in that movie. The worst. Like fucking Bob Hoskins, and he's British, right? Him and, well, Leguizamo, I think he's from New York, but they go like, okay, you are supposed to be plumber from New York. Got it. Right? Or Brooklyn, whatever. And the new one, they go like, okay, you're supposed to be plumber from Brooklyn, New York. And I think Charlie Day goes like, okay, I'm just gonna be Charlie Day, I'm funny. And Chris Pratt is like, I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want. There's no direction for Chris Pratt in the new Mario movies. I fucking hate how his accent comes and goes. I hate that shit. It sounds so bad. But whatever. Back to Peach. So she goes like, you gotta go through this obstacle course in less than 20 seconds. And Mario goes like, oh man, that's impossible. And she's like, let me show you. And she dominates that shit. Is there more or less value in making a quote-unquote princess in distress character, making her being in distress but having character and having layers? Daisy in the old Mario movie, she's not pushover, and they chose to give her character by making her a scientist. So even if she got captured by circumstances, the strength of her character remains. She's smart, she pulls through at the end. She becomes a leader, even with the weird ladies that they pick up in between. Is that better than basically in the new Mario movie? Peach is already invincible. That's the point. you know. And as I said, the term Mary Sue is really used to offend and to be kind of like mean so many times, but you can see it in how basic writers write basic characters. Peach has no vulnerability in the new Mario movie. She's perfect. And that even makes you forget that she's even there. As a matter of fact, it seems that in the new Mario movie, none of the characters has so many nuances. Perhaps the only two ones that have some vulnerability in them are Mario and Donkey Kong. You know, the characters that have a story arc, a weakness that they want to face, a weakness that they want to overcome. You know, Donkey is like facing the love of his father and the pressure, and Mario is also living with these insecurities and responsibilities. It's mostly about Luigi, right? But the rest of the characters are not even there. And even if you look at the villains, look at Koopa and Bowser. What is Bowser in the new one? Like, he's just like some weird, like, I also hate this word, but it's a word that defines our times. He's a simp. He has a parasocial relationship with Peach. He doesn't know her in the context of the movie, and he just wants to marry her. That shit is so, I don't know, man. It is creepy, but at the same time, I'm not a defender of this parasocial world, but it's the only one we have. You know, so I think it's wrong to just pan out as simple like sickness or like something. I mean, it's not good, but it's all we have. Our world is a parasocial world. We barely do normal relationships nowadays, and I'm not talking about like couples relationship. I'm not talking about love, sexual or whatever. Like I'm talking about, we flat out have trivialized relationship into the parasocial world. This is a bigger pandemic than COVID. But whatever the case, Bowser is barely a bad guy in the new one. It's just a joke. But Koopa in the old one is a bad guy. You know, because of all of the reasons that I said before. He is a bad guy, through and through. So you keep making this comparison. You keep thinking about it, and you, of course, without fail, you get into this question about adaptations. This is a big ass question, and we're probably never gonna get it. But by now, I think personally, there's way too much more, way much more value in adapting something in the way they did it in the 90s on how they do it now. Like the new Mario movie is just, you munch the game and just pet it out and put fucking Chris Pratt in it. Like, I don't want to sound mean, but there's nothing special about the new Mario movie. There's not. It's just like a bunch of references and like the music from the game, and like fucking everybody from Nintendo and their mom makes a cameo, and then just spit it out to a generic story, right? To a generic story with generic performances, and that's why the movie doesn't feel special. The old Mario, by all of its flaws, like all of them, by all of the valid criticism that you can make to it, it's a fucking special movie. It is. It's just way more special than the new one. Like, I keep thinking about Okay, how do I recover this movie for modern times? It could be the simple appreciation of the craftsmanship involved in it. Designing the characters, designing the costumes, designing the world, composing the music. This is a movie from 1993 and they fucking built a whole world with practical effects. You know, that in on itself makes the movie worth being recognized as a classic. I kept thinking about how similar is the old Mario movie to the Street Fighter movie, in a sense that if we want to adapt this, how do we create substance for it? How do we create a story for it? And criticizing this movie is easy because it has the one flaw in it that I shared and I've read in other reviews is that it has a weird tone to it. Because as I mentioned before, there are signs of politics, fascism, and a bunch of shit that is kind of like deep. And you mix that with fun stuff, with wacky, jumpy boots, with comedic performances. So you can criticize that, of course. But that is just how they did it, so they can keep the essence of what they were adapting it and making it into a movie. The common kind of like the common denominator in this type of adaptations back in the 90s were like these guys mostly didn't have any connection with the games. In their defense, back in 1993 there wasn't as many Mario games which they could rely on, but they were creators, they were writers, and they did their best. And above everything, they chose the essence of the adaptation correctly, which was Mario, Luigi, and their relationship. And why do I bring the modern one with this one? Because they chose the exact same thing to rely on. They chose the exact same thing to base their adaptation, which is the brotherly love and family between Mario and Luigi. It's exactly the same shit. It's the exact same thing. If you see the new and the older one, what is the core of it? Mario and Luigi and their brotherly love that can like conquer everything. It's exactly the same thing. So how can you criticize one adaptation over the other because it was weird, because it got weird and it got political? Like back then I had to accept that I was a kid. All of these things flew way over my head. In 1993 I had no idea, and probably was blessed by not knowing what the word fascism meant, by not understanding the iconography and the dystopian images that I was seeing. Something similar happened to me with RoboCop, and well, I did an episode on RoboCop already, but if you remember, RoboCop was also offered to kids. Hell, I had so many, well, not so many, I wasn't that rich, but I had like 2 or 3 RoboCop toys. That was marketed to kids, and that had a reason. Perhaps they didn't treat you so much as a dumb kid back in the 90s. They were like, okay, this shit's for kids, but let's give it to them straight, man. Life doesn't get any better. And as sure as hell it did not get any better. From 1993, like, okay, hindsight is kind of tricky. But like, man, who would have known that we would have our own real life Koopas nowadays? Like, this cult of personality neo-fascists that are kind of like pondering to the masses nowadays. They're just following a pattern that never died from Hitler on. It never did. It's like an written book that lives in the heads of intellectuals from the right, like um, these fucking weirdos that control the world from backstage. And this is no conspiracy theorist, you know. All of these politicians, these cult of personality guys, they have academics behind them playing the fascist book. The fascist handbook, if you want it. All the way from Mussolini on, from Hitler. It's the same shit. And why am I mentioning this? Because it's so ingrained in our culture that you use it for a base of adaptation of a game called Super Mario Brothers. Because it's true. But you jump into 2025 or whatever the new one is, and what do people care about? Let's have the references from the game. Yay! And that's it. Just put fucking Yoshi, put the sound effects, the yellow cubes. They're like, oh man, look at him. He sounds just like the game. I don't want to sound mean, but perhaps that's why kids nowadays, they just eat Tide Pods and I don't know. They live in a weird fantasy world. In a way, it's also depressing though, because we saw all of this bad. Our generation, those of us that grew in the 90s, that grew during the 90s. Most of us grew up to be emo though, because they throw us the warning signs, but they never left us the tools to overcome this. It's like, as we said back in the day, right? You were played a losing hand from the beginning. Props to Bad Religion and then the emo current. Like, that's the punk emo vibe. Sorry. You were played a losing hand from the beginning. But whatever, fuck it. I'm going off the rails. In conclusion, Super Mario Bros. 1993, the old Mario movie, is a movie that is completely worth rewatching, if only for the technical, I was going to say like prowess or achievement. It's not that big of a deal, but if only for the technical effort put in it, in its writing, in its characterization, and in its cinematography overall, which is quite special. Of course, it has the vibe of a time capsule. It will not break any like big standards. Like, it's not a revolutionary movie, and of course it has its flaws, especially in its tone, but the message is there, and it shows you the value in adapting something, choosing the core that makes that which you are adapting, to make it into to choose the right thing to focus on, and then to expand. By comparing it with the new Mario, that point is shown, and to me proven. These are just two movies for different times and put through a different filter. Is it the best movie? No, but it's definitely better than the new one. To me, it's just definitely better than the new one, because it makes an effort. Newer adaptations are becoming effortless. That's it. And basically the people behind it, they just come to this realization. People don't want special. People don't want an interpretation. They just want whatever they see in one side, put it into another side. That's it. Sorry to say so. So even if it's for that, this is a movie that should be recovered. Now, with the new Street Fighter movie coming up, we have more to say about it. Mortal Kombat is... Should I do an episode on Mortal Kombat? It's its own case. But whatever. I'm running out of time. If you have the chance to see the old Mario movie, by all means do. It's a time capsule of the 90s. It's a exercise on being exposed to the thought process of adaptation from the 90s. And, well, it's just a fun time, most of it. And it has the phrase, monkey. I think Dennis Hopper says that line more than one movie, right? But whatever. Hope you can all get to see this movie. Experience the 90s if you didn't experience them like in the flesh. And perhaps being reminded once again that the world ended after the World War II. The hands were dealt and the game is rigged. Right? See you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.